In this video, we're going to cover all things TickTick Trader. I finally got to my first payout request of $2,500 from a 150K account, and we're going to go over the full month and everything that it took to get there in this video. With that being said, they offer two different kinds of accounts, your regular evaluation, and they have these straight to funded accounts. And I really like the straight to funded Project X accounts personally. If you're familiar with Tradeify, this is pretty similar. You have the 20% consistency and you can only have up to 3 max accounts here. I prefer this prop firm though because I really like Project X. I think it's really good for copy trading and I haven't ran into as many issues as I've had with Tradeivate. And I'm curious on your guys' thoughts. Comment down below the differences, the benefits, the pros and cons that you have Tradeivate versus Project X, or do you guys still like NinjaTrader or Quant Tower? Now they also have your traditional evaluation accounts. I don't go into them as much because I'm not very familiar with them, and I don't believe they offer Project X for these evaluation accounts. I'm not entirely sure why, but the direct to funded with Project X is what I mainly stick with. And I will say I will definitely be picking up accounts with Tradeify in the future once they have Project X. One of my favorite things about TickTick over Tradeify is the fact that you only have to trade for a minimum of 5 days instead of Tradeify's 10 days in between each payout. And then there is also a clear path to live for both prop firms. It's typically after like 5 or 6 payouts, I believe, from the same account, but obviously this varies from trader to trader and there's different circumstances. I'm not sure everything that goes on behind the scenes, but that's the goal for me, is to eventually get this to a live account with TickTick. Now, if you have any more questions about this prop firm, make sure you leave them in the comments below, but we're going to dive into my performance this month and how I've gotten past the buffer zone to make my $2,500 request. Now the max payout you can take on a 150K account is $3,000. However, there is a $7,500 safety net. So in order to take that full $3,000 payout, you have to have $10,500 worth of profit. Now, I personally took the $2,500 because Juneteenth was today and I do not like to trade during any kind of holidays like that. And all the breaking news headlines and tweets and back and forth decision from the US, whether or not they're going to get involved in the war, I do not want to risk taking a big loss off of a quick move. In general, it's better to just lock in the payout and continue to trade other accounts if you have them. So one thing that is interesting is, as you can see in the top left corner up here, my account currently is paused. And when you request a payout, trading on your account is paused while they review and approve the payout. I actually was not aware that was the case. However, typically when I do request payouts, I don't trade that account anyways, so that's not really a big deal to me, but I am curious to see how long this process takes because on the website it says between 1 and 5 business days is the typical turnaround. And make sure you subscribe to this channel because I am going to cover what that total time frame from request to approval to the money landing in my Rise account actually is in the future, so stay tuned for that follow-on video. And on this channel, I pride myself in being fully transparent. I don't have a course to sell. I have no reason to lie or hide anything. So last week on Thursday, I did take a huge loss, and I think this single loss and these kind of really big losing days is what kills most traders. Now, with these direct to funded accounts, typically you have a maximum daily loss and then you have a maximum total drawdown. The 3830 was the max daily loss for this account, which caps your downside. However, on days like this, you want to keep those losses as small as possible because your 20% consistency is always going to be based off your highest day. So on Friday, if I came back and made 4,000, my target would then go all the way up to 20,000 just for my first payout. And that's why this straight to funded 20% consistency is so profitable for prop firms, because most traders never actually get to that payout because of a day like like this. And I think a lot of traders can also relate to this, especially with social media. I essentially had a payout locked in last week, but I kept trading because I wanted that max payout, because you see traders getting thousands and thousands of dollars online. So of course you also want to get that max payout, and that caused me to overtrade and end up going on tilt. If I could offer any advice for this, it's just live to trade another day. If I would have just locked in, as you can see, my high there was right around 1900, and then you'll see the next day I had a super easy A+ setup that would have put me well above my payout target. Instead, I tried to force it the same day and ended up taking this big loss. And the thing that's helped me a lot more with consistency now is just thinking of the long term, just trying to compound your accounts daily and not shoot for the big, huge home runs every single day. If you do this over time, not only do you limit your downside, but you also compound over time, which gives you a lot more stable and steady results. And lastly, avoid huge red folder news days. I took a pretty significant loss of like $600 immediately trading right around the time Powell spoke for FOMC. As you can see, that big dip in my P&L. Truthfully, just wait it out. If you're going to trade, let it be after 3 p.m. on those days where the market kind of figures out its final direction. The last thing you want to do is lose days, weeks, or months of hard work because of a single news candle or a single news catalyst, because the market is bouncing around, reacting to different headlines, different reports, and it doesn't really know exactly where it's going to go. It just kind of bounces from the highs to the lows, and there's not really much predictability until things smooth and settle out. So just going to go over a few of my Project X settings. Currently, I have my risk to reward set at 1,000. I adjust this after I get in the trade. I'm not risking 1,000 every single trade, and my target is not always 1,000. It's always based off of price action, but this is just to get those orders on the chart so I can drag and adjust them as need be based off of some key levels. And you'll also want to make sure that your data speed is set to fast. You don't want anything lagging or things to be slow when it comes to the candles or the data that is being displayed on your chart. And lastly, I have this streamer mode turned on just to hide my account name. I'm not sure if the account name even matters, but just as a good practice for like trading any live accounts or anything like that, it's obviously not something you want to share. And then I always have 3 different charts pulled up. I like to trade on the 5-minute chart. I also have the 15-minute pulled up always. And then my bottom right chart will bounce between the 2000 tick and the 1 hour, depending on how volatile the market is that specific day. If it's a slower day with less volatility, let's say the VIX is less than 19, I will just have that as my hourly chart. And this right here is another reason why I like Project X over Tradovate. When you draw on one chart, as long as it's the same symbol, it replicates across all charts, versus Tradovate, you have to actually do it for each individual chart, even if it's the same instrument. With that being said, we had a lot less volatility today, obviously a lot less volume as well, with it being a half day and a holiday, but there was a super clean rejection. We essentially broke that area of support we had in the pre-market, dropped below it, and then came back up and retested it a couple times. So I would not be surprised if we got some downside overnight. Obviously, any headline can drop at any moment, so definitely always know kind of what's going on in the market. Don't just try to short the top and buy the bottom, because any news can send the market back to all-time highs or down a couple hundred points. It'll be interesting to see how Friday plays out. Let me know down below in the comments. Do you think we are more likely to hit all-time highs, break past 22,200, or do you think we'll see 21,400 beforehand?